In the 1980s, the NBA wasn't just a basketball league. It was a powder keg. While the world saw the grit of the Celtics behind their locker room doors, a silent epidemic was dismantling dynasties before they could even begin. We often talk about the greatest of all time.
I was one that made a huge mistake, but I was able to bounce back.
But we rarely talk about the Hall of Fame talents who didn't lose to a better opponent, but to a chemical dependency that the game wasn't ready to handle. These are the NBA careers destroyed by addiction.
Stop telling me about all of this incredible talent because the off-court demons.
Number 1. Len Bias. If you ask anyone who watched college basketball in the mid-80s who could challenge Michael Jordan, they wouldn't say Magic or Larry, they'd say Len Bias. Bias was a 6'8" athlete with a jump shot that many couldn't imagine. On June 17, 1986, the defending champion Boston Celtics used the number 2 overall pick to draft him. Red Auerbach, the mastermind of the Celtics dynasty, believed he had just secured the next decade of Boston dominance. But he was wrong. 48 hours later, the dream turned into a national nightmare. In a dormitory at the University of Maryland, celebrating his selection with friends, Bias ingested a concentrated dose of cocaine. His heart simply couldn't deal with the dose he consumed. He collapsed into a seizure and was pronounced dead at 8:55 a.m. Bias's death didn't just break the Celtics, it changed American law. It led to the Len Bias Law, creating mandatory minimums for drug crimes, and it forced the NBA to implement the most stringent drug testing in professional sports. Number 2. Sugar Ray Richardson. Before there was Magic Johnson, there was Michael Sugar Ray Richardson. He was a 6'5", positionless nightmare who could lead the league in assists one night and lock down the opposing team's best scorer the next. In 1980, he became the first player in NBA history to lead the league in both assists and steals in the same season. To the fans at Madison Square Garden, he wasn't just a star. He was the future of the point guard position. But while Sugar was sweet on the court, his life off it was turning bitter. Richardson's addiction to cocaine didn't just hamper his play, it made him a target for a league that was desperate to clean up its image. In February 1986, Commissioner David Stern did something that had never been done to an active all-star. He issued a lifetime ban. Richardson had failed his 3rd drug test in 3 years. In an instant, one of the most versatile talents the game had ever seen was erased from the NBA record books. He was only 30 years old. For NBA fans, the question remains, if Sugar Ray had stayed clean, would we even be talking about the 80s or just the Bird or Magic era? Or would we be talking about a 3-man race for the throne? Number 3, David Thompson. If you're talking about players Michael Jordan looked up to, you have to talk about David Skywalker Thompson. He was the only player to score 73 points in a game until Kobe Bryant. He was a 4-time All-Star with a 44-inch vertical who was the highest paid athlete in sports in the late 70s. But he had a major challenge. It was a massive cocaine addiction that drained his bank account and his athleticism. Thompson's career didn't end with a trade. It ended at the legendary Studio 54 nightclub in New York. During a fight, he was pushed down a flight of stairs, destroying his knee. He was out of the league by age 29. Number 4, Chris Herren. As we moved out of the cocaine circus of the 80s, the face of addiction in the NBA began to change. It became quieter, more clinical, and in many ways, more dangerous. Herren wasn't just a basketball player in New England. He was a god, a high school legend who seemed destined to lead his hometown Boston Celtics back to glory. But Herren's addiction didn't start in a club. Interestingly, it started with a single yellow pill, Oxycontin. By the time Herren was starting for the Celtics, he was living a double life that sounds like a thriller movie. He once admitted to standing outside the Fleet Center in full uniform, waiting for his dealer to deliver painkillers just minutes before tip-off. He played games in front of 18,000 screaming fans while his body was screaming for a fix. His NBA career didn't end with a lifetime ban or a heart attack. It ended with a slow, agonizing fade into obscurity. Herren's story serves as a bridge to the modern era, reminding us that for some players, the greatest opponent isn't the man guarding them, it's the medicine cabinet. Number 5, Vin Baker.
Well, new at 4, speaking of the Bucks, former player and assistant coach Vin Baker is sharing his amazing journey to sobriety.
He sat down with our Andrea Williams to talk about where that journey has taken him and how he is now using his life experiences to help other people.
By the late 90s, Vin Baker was a prototype for the modern power forward. At 6'11", he was a 4-time All-Star who could do it all. He had just signed an $86 million contract with the Seattle Supersonics and helped Team USA secure gold in the 2000 Olympics. On paper, he was at the summit of the basketball world. But behind the scenes, Baker was battling a silent, liquid demon. Baker's struggle with alcohol began as a way to cope with the immense pressure and anxiety of the NBA spotlight. What started as post-game partying evolved into a dependency that saw him drinking before games just to steady his nerves. During the 1998 lockout, his control slipped entirely. By the time he was traded to the Boston Celtics, the secret was out. He would show up to practices smelling of alcohol, eventually leading to a suspension in 2003 and the termination of his contract. Number 6, Kon Clark. Kon Clark represents a functioning addict whose talent was so immense it masked the problem for years. A long time after retiring, Clark admitted to an ESPN reporter, "I never played a game sober." He famously drank a half pint of gin daily and would even drink during halftime in the locker room. Teammates nicked him the fire-breathing dragon because they could smell the liquor on his breath during games. Despite once recording 12 blocks in a single game, his body eventually broke down. He ended up serving an 8-year prison sentence for weapons and DUI charges, calling his time behind bars a sabbatical that finally helped him get clean. Number 7, Delonte West. In the late 2000s, West was the guy for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He was a gritty, fearless guard, but was fighting a battle that statistics couldn't track. Diagnosed with bipolar disorder in 2008, he struggled to manage his mental health under the relentless grind of the NBA. When his playing days ended in 2015, the structure that kept him afloat vanished. The world watched in heartbreak as images surfaced of West panhandling in Maryland and Virginia. In 2020, Mavericks owner Mark Cuban personally tracked him down at a gas station and paid for his retirement. For a moment, it looked like a comeback was happening. He was even working at the rehab facility that helped him. However, addiction and mental illness don't follow a linear path. As recently as late 2024, West has faced continued setbacks, including arrests and medical emergencies requiring life-saving intervention. Number 8, Eddie Griffin. Griffin's story is perhaps the most somber because it took place in the 2000s, when the league was supposed to be better at handling these issues. He was the 7th overall pick in 2001, a shot-blocking phenomenon compared to Kevin Garnett. Sadly, he battled severe alcoholism from the moment he entered the league. The Timberwolves even placed his locker next to Kevin Garnett's, hoping the veteran's intensity would rub off on him, but that didn't work. In 2007, at just 27 years old, Griffin ignored a railroad warning and drove his SUV into a moving freight train while heavily intoxicated. It was a violent end to a life that had become a cycle of rehab and relapses. Number 9, Richard Dumas. During the 1993 NBA Finals, Dumas was the secret weapon for Charles Barkley's Phoenix Suns, scoring 25 points in Game 5 against Michael Jordan. But he struggled with what he called self-medication, specifically cocaine and alcohol. Dumas was suspended for the entire year before his rookie season, then suspended again right after his breakout finals performance. He played only 128 games in total. He later admitted he knew he was going to be tested, but the addiction was so strong, he couldn't wait 3 days for his system to clear. The what-ifs of the NBA are usually about injuries or bad trades, but the what-ifs of addiction are much heavier. If Len Bias had lived, would the Celtics have dominated the 90s? If Delonte West had found peace, where would his career have gone? Let me know in the comments which player's story impacted you the most. Please like and share this video if you enjoyed it, and if you want to see more deep dives into the darker side of the NBA history, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.